Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cricket Unplugged with Anis Sajan. From 1-0 down, India's bounced back to win the series 3-1 and have booked a ticket to the ICC Test World Championship. To discuss about the whole series and especially the last Test match, I have the Bharat Army fans, Naresh, Dia, and will be soon joined by Gurkirat. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anis.
Dia, let me start with you. Fourth Test match, and India was 2-1 up, but India had to win that Test match. Did you feel that at any time India might come under the pressure and let this slip away?
I would say we were definitely under the pressure, although we had got the momentum in our hands. We had won the last two test matches, but the way we started batting and the way the way the second day turned out to be, especially the first two sessions, it was looking like we might lose the spot and England might run away with this game. But again, I have to say that the third session after the tea, the way Rishabh Pant and Washington Sundar batted, they actually turned this game in our favor, and that's when we felt that from here we can win. But before that, the way we were batting, it was not looking like we could have managed to win. But our bowlers did a great job bundling them out for 205 runs, and then But yeah, I guess our batting, our top order definitely disappoint us in some way or the other. But definitely all the credit goes to our lower order. Not to forget Akshar Patel and his contribution as well. He also missed out on his half century. So overall, it was a complete team performance. But I was expecting more from Chiteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, and I would definitely want to say one thing as well. The way Rohit Sharma batted, it was very unlike of Rohit. Like he played all defensive because he's a player who's known for he goes all guns blazing. But this time around, he was so calm and so defensive. So overall, I would say it was a complete test match, but I expected more from our batsmen. Rest, it was amazing.
Naresh, 150 for 6, I probably feel, when Ashwin got out. At that time, Sundar and Rishabh Pant, did you feel that we might end up giving a lead?
146 for 6. And again, as I have said many times, the first session didn't go well for us, on day 2. The advantage we took was by bowling them all out after they winning the toss. So they lost out on that advantage, but they came back. And especially the way Ben Stokes was bowling. And it was, we needed one stand because they didn't have any alternate available. Again, they went with the wrong bowling attack, to be honest, or a very limited bowling attack. They read the conditions wrongly. So we needed a good one big long stand, which could have, put that pressure, and it came in the form of Pant and Sundar partnership. But yes, we didn't start well on day 2, but after lunch, things started changing for us. So then, definitely, when we ended the day at around 284 or something, or 294, 89 lead, it was a bonus from there on, anything we got, because again, day 3 was the first session. I didn't expect that we will have a long session because we haven't done well in the past, but they played out at least the first hour very well, so, and then Akshar got out. So overall, yes, Washington Sundar, especially because the role he has played in Gaba, 166 for 6, partnership with Thakur, and here 146 for 6, partnership with Pant, both the match changing and the match winning performance. So it's really, really heartening to see how our issue is getting solved with our 6, 7, 8 doing well. But yeah, the top order, as Dia said, needs lots to be looked at.
Gurkirat, welcome. Good to have you again with us, our statsman. Gurkirat, हम दोनों ने से बात की तो India was in a precarious position at one time, और ऐसा लग रहा था कि that crucial lead England might take the advantage. क्या आपको ऐसा लगा था कि ऋषभ पंत और सुंदर वही कमाल बताएंगे जो उन्होंने ऑस्ट्रेलिया में बताया था? सच बताइएगा.
I thought India might score around 220. Was not very confident, but yeah, this test match pretty much panned out like Mohali won in 2016 versus the same opponent. England had scored some 270 to 80 odd. India were 6 down, with just scores being leveled, and then Jayant Yadav and Jadeja batted well and took India to 100 plus odd lead. So match ने वही मतलब same ही template follow किया. But yeah, I think a few of the biggest positives in this Test series, have been one, Pant the keeper, and Sundar's batting, and I'd say Rohit Sharma the opener. These three are the biggest positives if India are to take out of this Test match, or rather the series.
There's a lot to talk because we're going to preview the whole series. But Dia, first, let's again talk about the fourth Test match. What's wrong with England in their team selection? When it was a spinning track, they picked four spinners, rather four seamers. And in this, they end up picking only two seamers, with Stokes having to do the bulk of the bowling. क्या हो गया था इंग्लैंड को? Do they read pitches bad?
Yeah, that was definitely the case in the last two test matches, as we saw. And, Virendra Sehwag also tweeted and, posted this picture of Brain. And, he said that, that's what they lacked actually instead of everything. So he was also pointing out that, they didn't use their brains while picking up their teams. So that's what, and, what all they do is at the end, they just blame the pitch. And this time around, they couldn't even do that. Okay, we understand what tactics they were using in the third test match. In the pink ball test match, but now this time around it was like a perfect pitch where if you would have showed a better application, you would have persisted and you would have batted in a very brilliant manner. There was good amount of grass and there was moisture on this pitch, and yeah, we as a spectator I can tell that. And this entire selection process just went completely wrong for them. Although their pacers did a great job, Stokes got wickets, and Anderson also did a great job. He got 3-4 wickets as well. But again, their spinners have been a problem. Like the way the Dom Bess was bowling, of course, he was like a blessing in disguise for us. We were waiting for him to bowl actually. So that was the case. So yeah, I guess their team selection has been a problem. And moreover, this time around, they couldn't put blame on the pitches as well, because the pitch was a perfect test match pitch, I would say, where you needed a great application, which these players couldn't show, and that's why they lost.
Naresh, if you had to put up England's performance, in all the last three test matches, where do you think they messed it up?
Extremely average performance, to be very honest. Chennai Test, captain winning the toss, electing to bat first, getting a big score. It happened with Joe Root in the first and Virat winning the second, and India took that advantage by scoring 300 on day one, knowing that it's going to turn a lot. And that Rohit Sharma inning actually is a very defining inning in the entire series. You can rate it equivalent to what Ajinkya Rahane did in Melbourne after losing Adelaide. Both got 100 in the second test. Rahane in Melbourne and here Rohit. But I think that second Chennai Test is where the entire loss of confidence came for England. And as Dia was mentioning about the team selection, they wanted to focus on one area. They wanted to make the batting strong. But, the batsmen didn't do well. The bowlers, probably in the third test, at least the pacers felt they were nowhere required in the side. And then they got Bess in, and then Bess is still low on confidence. And I think the spinners partnership, which Ashwin and Akshar showed, and it's very important that even your bowling combination works in tandem and bowls in tandem as partners. That is the most important factor which England lacked. You had those small phases of brilliance by individuals, but they never complemented each other. So lots to be desired for them to play in subcontinent. Going ahead, definitely they will relook at this. And obviously their rotation policy didn't work in their favor, with Moeen Ali had to go back. His plan was to play 4 tests, 2 in Sri Lanka, 2 in India. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka, he couldn't play. And then he returned back. So there's lots that they need to desire and look at how they would manage these subcontinent tours.
Gurkirat, England's rotation policy, do you think that has cost them this series?
No. Because, there are two things. One, good sides or, sides with tremendous amount of depth do still manage to compete and win. We saw India do that in Australia. India did it pretty much at home as well, because Jadeja, Shami and Umesh didn't play this series, and they are your starters. So India were without 3 of their starters in this series also, and even Jasprit Bumrah didn't play 2 test matches. So I don't think it was down to the rotation policy. The another thing is that you can argue who could they have played, or who could have changed the direction of the games. I don't think anyone they had who could have played, would have probably changed the direction of the game or changed the result. Because I also don't think that England played the wrong 11, which I said after the third test as well. I think they were spot on in playing the 11 that they did in the third test. Because although everyone talking about England were lacking a spinner, the spinner that they were lacking was Dom Bess, and we saw what Dom Bess did in the fourth test. He was not effective. So they went with their four best bowlers who they thought, who could win them the test match and or take 20 wickets, which is very similar to what Saurav Ganguly used to do when he had Harbhajan and Kumble. Even when the pitch is required to play three pacers, he realized that there is no good enough third pacer who can be better than the India's second spinner. So they played the right 11. I think they overcompensated for the criticism, which was unfair in the third test of their 11, by playing Dom Bess and dropping another pacer. They should have probably played two of Oli Stone, Jofra Archer, or Mark Wood, if not one of them. And I will repeat this: the pitch in the third test also wasn't a turning track. It was more to do with the pink ball than with the pitch, because the ball kept skidding on. I think the most difficult pitch in terms of facing spin was the one in Chennai in the second test. It was not because we saw how in the fourth test, how when the batsmen tried to apply themselves, they were able to score runs. We saw that with Bairstow in the first innings. Stokes scored a 50. Dan Lawrence, who was dropped for the third test, he came and almost scored a 40 and a 50. Oli Pope batted actually pretty well in the first innings. He actually batted well than what his 29 suggests. So it was not just down to the pitch. Another thing I think that was lacking from England's point of view, rather Root's point of view, was the captaincy. Uh, you go back to the second morning. Although India didn't perform that well, but Root actually gave India the chance. Both Cheteshwar and Rohit have struggled against Leach and have lost wickets to them. Pujara, before this test match, had gotten out to Leach 3 out of 5 times. Rohit had gotten out to Leach 4 out of 5 times. And who does he start with? Anderson and Stokes instead of Anderson and Leach. So he actually gave India the chance. It's just that, India's batting, especially, you could say top four in top five were poor and sort of gifted their wickets away. So it's down to that as well. But I don't think that the rotation, even if they pretty much had their full strength side anyway. They were missing. We were talking of how Bairstow coming back might help them, But if you see in the 4 innings he batted, he got out for a duck in the 3 innings. So it's not just down to the management. Also, what they could have done, what different they could have done. They backed the few certain players who had the experience, but they also didn't do well, like Bairstow. So it was a lot of small things that went apart for them. But having said everything, and looking back at the last 3 tests, I still feel that England overperformed. Because if we go back 4 or 5 months back, we were talking that, okay, the whitewash is a given. We just need to ensure that we don't lose badly to Australia so that we don't lose points for WTC. England still managed to win one test match, which is the only test match that India have lost at home in 4 years. So despite everything, I believe that they have overperformed, because they did not have the same batting lineup which they had in 2016. The batting lineup in 2016 had Alistair Cook. It had Keaton Jennings, who has a brilliant record in Asia. It had a Hasib Hamid, who was a very good opener, and he batted well in the first 2 test matches. And even Bairstow did pretty well. So I just think that they would have lost anyway. It's good that they didn't lose 4-0 because it spiced up things a little bit, but they still overperformed. However,
Just to stress on the point of Gurkirat Dia, the 3-1 scoreline, it might look fascinating or good to hear, but the test matches were not that one-sided. Okay, 10 wickets, innings defeat, but there were moments which England, you believe, have lost.
Definitely the way we also batted. I definitely want, like earlier also I said, the way we had batted, the way our top order performed. The only batsman who stood out for us was just Rohit Sharma at the top, and as Gurkirat also mentioned that he is one of the positives for this entire test series. So although we bowled pretty well, we managed to bowl them out pretty a lot of times. But same was the case with us as well. England managed to bowl us out so many times, but it was actually the case of us not showing that intent. Maybe, Cheteshwar Pujara, we expected more from him. We expected more from Kohli and Rahane as well. The way he threw away, the way Rahane threw away his wicket this time around. And, Cheteshwar Pujara as well, his dry run of form is just going on. And, he has also got out to Leeds like 4 out of 6 times in this entire series. So this is something that we didn't thought that that's going to happen. We thought that, it's happening in India. They are apparently ranked turners. So in like our batsmen are going to perform and, and going to get so much amount of runs. But that actually couldn't happen. And again, Anderson was, whenever he used to come and, he used to bowl like some amazing spells. That has been the case, except for, what happened to him like with Rishabh Pant. That was something different. But overall, I would say Anderson was, coming, all guns blazing, and he was steaming to, he was swinging actually, every single time. But again, our batting was the issue, but they couldn't capitalize to it. For that, they also needed to bat in a better manner. So according to me, it was India who batted a little bit in a better manner than what England did. They completely just gave it away. This is what I feel. India, on the other hand, was still in a better position in terms of batting. Somewhere or the other, we got some batsmen who stood out for us, but that didn't happen with England. But I would say Stokes still he did a great job. But one thing that I wanted to point out was, when Stokes was batting, he was he was all settled in this test match. I think we got a bit late to, bring back Ashwin into the attack because we know his struggles against, Ravichandran Ashwin. So had we got, Ravichandran Ashwin back into the attack when Stokes was, early on, when he just started batting, that would have been better. And maybe they could have been, we could have, got them out for like 150 or odd something runs rather than 205. So I think overall, I would say Kohli's captaincy as well was spot on, the way he brought those bowling changes and everything. But I guess, yeah, still when I feel that the only loophole was, of course, some DRS referrals also went wrong. But I still feel that Stokes, if he would have gotten out earlier, maybe we could have finished this match off earlier as well. And England, as I said, that, their bowling was their issue and their batting as well. So they were below average in this entire series except for the first test match. That was the only time when they actually gave a tough fight. Except for that, I don't feel that.
I was hearing yesterday Michael Arthurton, Nasser Hussain, and Robert Key. They were analyzing the loss of England. And one point, one of the analysts did mention that for England, the pinnacle of test match is Ashes. And they probably are focusing this time around the T20 World Cup. And after that, what comes to them is the Ashes. So this is what, do you feel that they have not given importance to this test series, Naresh?
Well, if that's true, then it is very unfortunate. But they are an international side representing their country. It shouldn't be that way. But yeah, purely because of what happened since 2020 from the COVID perspective, you could still be fair to them that yes, they need to rotate. Like we have taken jumbo squads when we have gone, but yeah, obviously Ashes for them, historically has been most important. But they are competing. They are part of the World Test Championship point system. I wouldn't say that they would have completely undermined this series, because they planned to go to Sri Lanka first. They wanted to get more acclimatized to this kind of heat and the spinning tracks. Is just that purely the lack of experience playing in subcontinent and over dependence on Root in the batting lineup was one of the letdown. And definitely what they were doing is not playing Broad and Anderson together in all the games. They were looking at one time. Spinners, as we have been mentioning, Bess was very much below average compared to Leach, and both of them did very well in Sri Lanka, but something went wrong after the first test. So, but yeah, they cannot have this approach going onwards in every test championship cycle. It lasts for 2 years. They cannot decide what is more of a priority. That shouldn't be the case. I mean, it's a very professional side to even look at it that.
Gurkirat, you see, we spoke about Bess, and we all know what went about with Bess. But dropping him after the first test, was that a call which brought his confidence down?
It was a justified call because they realized they might have to strengthen their batting and had to bring in Moeen Ali. One thing both Moeen Ali and Best didn't do was they didn't go around the wicket enough to the right-handed batsman. They kept bowling it outside the off stump. Had they probably, gone around the wicket and pitched, which they didn't do, I think they kept bowling outside off and kept floating it up, and the wicket was not, the pitches were not meant for it. We saw this in Chennai. Rohit kept sweeping Moeen Ali outside from outside the off stump, and Moeen Ali just didn't think of bowling within the stumps. So I don't think dropping Bess was a bad call, because even though he had gotten wickets, you had to look at how he had gotten wickets. He got wickets of a full toss, of a short delivery, which deflected off a bowler, of a fielder, and then went and then got caught. So sometimes numbers don't do justice, or don't show the true picture. So England were right in dropping him. As what Naresh mentioned, that they bowled well in Sri Lanka. Again, I don't think so, because Sri Lankan batsmen just tried to copy what Root was doing in that series. Just because Root was sweeping, they tried sweeping everything and didn't trust their defensive slogs, which you don't even see in T20 games. So I think that was more to do with Sri Lanka being absolutely poor than England playing out of their skins. Another point that was being discussed, that probably India would have restricted England to less than 200 if Ashwin had come in earlier. I don't think so, because this pitch again was something which required pace from the spinners, and eventually it was Sundar who got Stokes out, and that was purely because he had bowled a couple of deliveries within the line of stumps, on fourth stump, which kept leaving Stokes, and this pace didn't give him enough time to sort of play after the ball had pitched, and that is what beat him off the pitch. So I think that was a fair call. If anything, maybe Virat could have introduced Sundar a little earlier, but I understand why he didn't do it, because Sundar displayed some lack of control when he had bowled in Chennai to Root. So that is justifiable. But I think overall, on the whole, probably Akshar and Ashwin were so good that India didn't really need to use Sundar the bowler. But on these pitches, he could have easily been a handful, because of how Root bowled. We saw if bowlers just could bowl with a flatter trajectory on the stumps, they would get purchase out of it, and Sundar could have done the same very easily. It's just that they didn't need to. Another thing that I want to add is, Akshar took 27 wickets in three tests. It puts a lot of perspective to what Harbhajan had done in 2001, 20 years ago, with 32 wickets in those three test series. And that was against a much better team, who could play spin. And the next highest wicket taker for India was Sachin Tendulkar, who had taken three wickets. So, it gives a lot of perspective to how good was that performance, and why I think till date it remains one of the all-time great performances when you discuss Test cricket. So,
All right.
Australian lineup, I think, Hayden, Waugh, and Ponting and Gilchrist and all were there.
Langer, Gilchrist, Slater,
Langer.
everybody could play spin. This team
True.
this English side actually lost a few wickets to Akshar even before they took the field. They saw him, and they thought, okay, it's better to go back inside the pavilion.
Yeah, I'm sure you must be aware, but I'll just bring to the notice of people who are going to listen to the show. The highest scorer in this test series from both sides was Joe Root, and that also on the back of the first test match. So, and the second highest was Rohit Sharma.
Yeah.
So, overall batting performance in this series was a disappointment.
Definitely. This scorecard itself shows that Joe Root, he got 200 in the first Test match, and still he could manage a meager of 300 plus runs in this entire series of 4 Test matches. And again, but I would still say, the batting from both the sides, as I've been mentioning about it all the time, that the batting from both the sides was not up to the mark the way we thought it should have been. It was not the fault of the pitches in general. It was, as I said, if the batsman would have had applied a better application would have been there, that would have been better. But that actually didn't happen. But still, I would say we still got to see good performances from Rohit Sharma and Rishabh Pant and and Washington Sundar and Ravichandran Ashwin as well. So as an Indian fan, I was happy, but still I expected more from our key players. That couldn't happen, and England, they themselves show that they just can't play spin, and they couldn't perform well, except for Joe Root. None other player got to 100 or something in this entire series. So that speaks for itself that how they batted. So yeah, overall, the entire batting performances from both the sides was not up to the mark.
Naresh, what do you think went wrong with the Indian batsmen? Okay, we know England batsmen couldn't play spin. As Gurkirat mentioned that before they could come, they were losing wickets to Axar. What happened to Indian batsmen, bearing Rohit Sharma and Pant?
Yeah, and that's what's I think disappointed all of us, that the entire 2, 3, 4, 5, starting from Gill to Rahane, didn't have an impact on this series, except for the first test. We saw Pujara getting 50. We had Virat getting 72 in the last day before he got bowled to Stokes. But yeah, Gill and Rahane have, and I think it's again, we have been talking about the pitch so much in this series, but it's been equally difficult for both the batting lineups. It's just that India, because being at home, is expected that they'll do better. It's not that they were turning big. Yeah, the turn was there, but the wickets were falling not to turners, but because it was leaving some kind of a doubt in the mind. The commitment to the footwork was a bit late, and that is where England lost out a lot. Virat, if you see in the second test, quickly corrected. The first inning when he got bowled by Moeen Ali, it went through his bat and pad. The second inning, he was very different. So that is something which we didn't see in England batting lineup, how quickly to adapt. The decisive footwork is where, if you see, most of our wickets have fallen, ours or England batsmen. And Pujara especially, again, that LBW where his bat comes little later than his front foot, which is his style of batting, but that is giving that room open for LBW, because it's the straighter ones which were getting the wickets. So yes, it is our home conditions, but somewhere we need to also try to change the way we are approaching defensive footwork.
Gurkirat?
Adding on to what Naresh said about, Pujara bringing down his bat late, Murli Karthik on air, made a brilliant point about this on how, people speak that Pujara and Dravid are similar kind of players. He actually deciphered the technique. He said that what Rahul Dravid used to do much better than Pujara was, he used to meet the ball and, have his bat ahead of his foot and not just with the pad. What Pujara was trying to do was, keep both of them together, and with Leach's pace, because Leach, as he played more and, bowled more, he figured out that he has to keep up, bowling at a good pace. He was beating him there, and, that is why he got him out RBW twice. I think he got him out 4 times, out of which, one where in Chennai, first innings in the second test was completely down to Pujara's poor shot. He played it away from the body, opened the face. But apart from that, I think he just didn't recognize, the threat that Leach could pose to Pujara. However, I still don't think that it's a cause of concern, because Pujara has never been dismissed to Rangana Herath in his career, and he's played him quite a few times. So he's a very good batsman of spin, but I just think this was an aberration, and he'll play well. And he's had a few impactful knocks. He had 350s in Australia, 150 over here as well. What I just want him is to score 100, because it's been more than 2 years he also scored a test 100. It's just that the drought of hundreds from the mainstays of Indian batting is a little concerning. Virat has played few very impactful knocks. He's played three knocks, 1 in Adelaide, 2 in Chennai in first test and in the second test. But it's not gone on to make it a big one and score a daddy 100. And in test matches, as I often talk about, about my frustration with Ajinkya Rahane, is just that he gets in, does well, but doesn't carry on to make a big daddy 100. You as established batsmen need to do it, and this goes for all three, be it Pujara, Kohli or Rahane, because all of them have played more than 70 test matches, and you need your experienced players to sometimes pull you out of a rut, and you can only do it when one of them have gotten in and make it count.
Yeah, and ours is a much experienced batting lineup compared to England. As I said, they were over dependent on Root. And that's where the disappointment comes that these three, the mainstays, as you call, experienced guys, did not actually score big. But
Yeah,
yeah, we got the desired result. We got the desired result of the series.
That's what was my next question to Dia. That in 8 test matches, 4 in Australia and 4 against England, we've got only 400s, and out of which 100 has been scored by Ashwin.
Well, it's good that our lower order is also coming up to perform, and we definitely need it's not always going to be like, because earlier when in 2016, 17, it was always the top order like Steshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli for us, who used to score daddy hundreds and used to get to us totals of 500, 600 runs around. So it's a blessing in disguise, I would say, that if Kohli is not getting that much amount of runs, so it's giving chance to the other players as well to come up and perform and show their potential. And because of that, we have got players like Washington Sundar, the batsman. He came in as a proper bowler, but now he has shown his technique as a proper batsman as well. Getting 350s in his 4 test matches has been great. That too, for he has just started. And Rishabh Pant, Rishabh Pant has also has emerged as a great wicketkeeper, as a batsman as well in these 2 series for us. So if these players are not performing, so we should definitely take it as a blessing in disguise that other players are also getting a chance to show and perform, because many of the times it used to happen that they don't even used to get the batting, and we used to declare, and when Virat Kohli or Chiteshwar Pujara used to score. So I think we should take it in a positive manner, and that's going to strengthen our batting. And going into the tough conditions like England, we definitely need a good and a deeper batting lineup. So if they will get this confidence by batting in India, that will definitely favor us in future only.
Well, we're going to definitely talk about when India go to England and what sort of spicy pitches we are going to get there in return in June, probably. Meanwhile, quickly, Naresh, you already said it, but I still want to ask you the defining moment of the series.
Yeah, Rohit Sharma's 100. Yeah, day one, 300 on a very difficult track. As Gurpreet said, that was actually the most difficult track of the series. But Rohit Sharma dominating with 160. I think, and especially coming back from a loss. We lost the first test, and on the first day, we capitalized on the advantage of winning the toss, which Joe Root couldn't on for the third and the fourth test. So that, I think, defining moment was that, and obviously to add up after that was Ravichandran Ashwin.
Gurkirat?
Same as Naresh's, I actually think that Rohit Sharma got robbed of a Man of the Series awards. The commentators just went with aggregates, but it also you also have to see when at what times have the performances come in. Ashwin never, without a doubt, scored a brilliant 100, but by the time Ashwin came out to bat in that test match, that India had already won that test match. India were leading for more than 300 runs. Same you could say about the wickets that he took in the second innings in Chennai in the first test. He took a fifer, no doubt, but India were way too behind in that game to even make a match of it. In fact, if anything, the way England batted the way at the pace at which they batted, it wasn't probably the greatest idea to bowl England out so quickly, because it gave England a lot of overs to bowl at India. So while Ashwin was brilliant with his 32 wickets and the runs he scored, two of his performances weren't as impactful as what Akshar's and Rohit's were. So I thought that maybe the man of the match probably should have gone, man of the series probably should have gone to Rohit, or maybe even Pant, because he was brilliant with the gloves. He had 350 plus scores in this series, which I think are the highest, because Rohit had 250 plus scores, Pant had 3. And if you see the last 2 test series, Pant has the most 50 plus scores for India. He had his 189 not out, 290s, one another 50 not out. So no issues with Ashwin getting that award. It actually takes an Indian closer to the most Man of the Series awards, because he's now tied with Richard Hadley, Imran Khan, and Shane Warne for 8 Man of the Series awards, and he's only behind Jack Callis, who has 9, and Muralidharan, who has 11. But I genuinely thought that if someone deserved the Man of the Series award for this series, it had to be Rohit.
Dia?
For me, it has to be Rishabh Pant. like especially the knock he played in this fourth test match. I mean, because this test match was just so crucial, knowing that we have to go into the World Test Championship, finals, and coming at this moment, we were like like 41 for 3 at that moment. Sorry, like he came, of course, after that, but the kind of situation that we were in, and coming after that and performing, and that changed the entire discourse of this test match. So according to me, when we needed that player to come in and perform for us, that was Rishabh Pant. So he was the man of the series for me. And the kind of criticism that he had faced earlier, and now coming out of it, and Ravi Shastri is in praise of him, his captain is in praise of him. So we all know how he has emerged as a player, as a wicket keeper. Early on, we all knew, in Australia only we saw he is very good with his batting, but now everyone wanted to see him wicket keeping as well, and he also proved with his wicket keeping skills in this fourth test match. So I think that he has become that complete package for us, so he deserved to be the man of the series. But I don't mind Ravichandran Ashwin as well. I mean, getting 30 wickets is not easy, and he has done that twice for India. And having 35 wicket hauls, that's also one big thing. So yeah, I think he also deserved to some extent, and I'm happy that every player to somewhere or the other contributed, and that's what we need to win the series, and that's what exactly happened. So yeah, really happy.
So we are 4 of us. Naresh is Rohit Sharma. Gurkirat definitely said Rohit Sharma, but Gurkirat, आप थोड़ा सा एक बदली कर लो. आप अक्सर लेना चाहोगे या अश्विन लेना चाहोगे आपके मैन ऑफ द सीरीज, क्योंकि हम चारों बांट के लेंगे एक मैन ऑफ द सीरीज. इन्होंने पंत कह दिया.
I think in order, then you have to go with Akshar.
Okay.
If you're going for an order, for me the most impactful in the series have been Rohit, Akshar, Rishabh, and Ashwin. So I'll go with Akshar if we have to, सबको खुश करना है, सबका मन.
It's so unfortunate. We keep saying it's a team game, it's a team effort, and we have only one man, and instead of men of the series, and that is what India has done in the last 2 series in Australia and in England. There have been those individuals who have turned around the series and the games, so it's not fair to just keep it to one.
Spot on. Absolutely. It's a team game, and test matches are won by 11 players. And of course, people who are doing the backhand job. Nonetheless, exciting to see India taking a ticket to the World Test Championship. We're going to place New Zealand. It's going to be fun. English conditions, juicy wickets, Bond, Saudi against the Indian seamers. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll all definitely discuss. But before that, we will come back to you all on 11th. I think 12th is the first T20.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, 12th onwards, alternate days. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to just do a short preview on the T20. Great to have you guys once again on the show.